If you own 100 O's, 500 O's, maybe even 1,000 O's of silver, pause for a moment before the next breakout, before the price spikes, before everyone suddenly starts talking about it again. Watch this carefully in your mind because this is not about silver, it's about who you are becoming while you hold it. And if you understand this now, you won't just profit from the next move, you'll transform your entire financial life. There was a time when I believed owning an asset was enough. Buy it, store it, wait. I thought patience alone guaranteed success. But patience without understanding is just delayed anxiety. I would check prices constantly. I would imagine future gains. I would fear sudden drops. I wasn't investing, I was emotionally attached. Then I started studying thinkers like Jim Rickards, not for predictions, not for price targets, but for perspective. He often speaks about cycles, monetary shifts, systemic risk, and what struck me wasn't fear, it was preparation. That's when I realized something powerful. Owning 100 to 1,000 O's of silver doesn't automatically make you smart. Becoming disciplined while you hold it does. Let me ask you something quietly. If silver doubles tomorrow, would your life change or would your habits stay the same? Because real wealth is not built during breakouts, it's built during boredom. Look at Warren Buffett. He didn't become one of the greatest investors of all time by chasing spikes. He built systems, he read daily, he waited for asymmetric opportunities. Most of his fortune came from long-term conviction, not short-term excitement. And here's the first shift you must make if you hold significant silver. Stop thinking like a holder, start thinking like an allocator. A holder watches price, an allocator watches position size, portfolio balance, liquidity, and long-term strategy. If silver is 10% of your net worth, that's strategy. If it's 90% and you have no cash, flow, that's exposure, the breakout you're waiting for. It rewards structure, not emotion. Now imagine this, the market moves fast, volatility expands, social media explodes with excitement. People who ignored silver for years suddenly want in. That is the moment when your psychology will be tested. Will you chase higher? Will you freeze? Will you panic sell at the first pullback? Or will you execute a plan you designed in calm conditions? This is where the second principle comes in. Define your exit before the entry pays you. The calm investor decides in advance. At this price level, I rebalance. At this gain percentage, I take partial profit. At this macro shift, I reassess. Without rules, breakouts create chaos in the mind. Now look at Ray Dalio. He built Bridgewater not on bold predictions, but on risk management frameworks. He assumes he can be wrong, he prepares for multiple outcomes. That humility is strength. You're holding 100 to 1,000 O's. That's not small. It's serious capital, and serious capital demands serious thinking. Let's go deeper. Silver is a store of value. But are you building yourself as a store of value? If your income depends on one employer, if your skills are outdated, if your expenses rise with every small gain, then even a breakout won't save you. This brings us to the third principle, parallel wealth creation. While you hold hard assets, build soft assets, invest in skills, invest in relationships, invest in health, invest in businesses that generate cash flow. Look at entrepreneurs like Elon Musk. Regardless of what you think of his style, he doesn't rely on one outcome. He builds multiple engines, technology, infrastructure, innovation, vision layered on vision. You can do the same on your scale. Own silver, but also own your future earning power. Now here's a micro hook most people ignore. The biggest financial mistakes don't happen when you're losing. They happen when you're winning, when your net worth rises quickly, ego rises quietly. You start believing you're smarter than you are. You increase risk, you concentrate positions, you ignore warning signs. That's why the fourth principle is emotional neutrality. If silver drops 20%, can you stay calm? If it rises 200%, can you stay disciplined? True investors don't let price dictate identity. Let me tell you something quietly powerful. The market doesn't care how many ounces you own, it cares how prepared you are. Preparation means liquidity. Do you have cash reserves? Do you have emergency funds? Can you hold through volatility without being forced to sell? Many people are right about assets, but wrong about timing because they lack liquidity. They're forced out before the thesis plays out. Don't let that be you. Build a runway, 6 months, 12 months, enough breathing room so your investments are choices, not survival tools. Now imagine 5 years from today. Silver may have broken out, may have cycled again, but the disciplined version of you, That person will have a diversified portfolio, clear allocation rules, growing income streams, a calm nervous system. That's real breakout energy. The fifth principle is patience with awareness, not blind hope, not obsessive monitoring. Calm, informed patience. Study monetary history, study cycles, study human psychology. When you understand how fear and greed move crowds, you stop being controlled by them. And here's something most people won't say out loud. Owning 1,000 ounces of silver won't change your life if your thinking stays small. Think in decades, think in legacy. What are you building beyond this trade? Who are you becoming beyond this asset? Because wealth without direction becomes distraction. Now let's shift into action. Tonight, write down your full financial map: total assets, total liabilities, cash flow, sources, risk exposures. Then define what percentage of my net worth is silver. What is my rebalance strategy? What is my income growth strategy? What skills will I build this year? Turn hope into structure, turn speculation into system. And when the next breakout comes, and it will, because cycles always return, you won't be reacting, you'll be executing. That is power. Master your mindset before the breakout, because discipline determines destiny more than any price movement ever will. Anyone can feel confident when an asset is rising. Anyone can feel patient when momentum is strong, but very few people train their thinking during the quiet phases, during consolidation, during doubt. If you own 100 to 1,000 ounces of silver, the real question is not what the market will do next. The real question is who you're becoming while you wait. Are you reactive, checking prices every hour, emotionally rising and falling with every fluctuation? Or are you grounded, clear, and structured in your approach? History shows that the greatest investors separated emotion from execution. Warren Buffett built extraordinary wealth not by chasing breakouts, but by maintaining psychological stability when others lost control. He understood that markets transfer money from the impatient to the disciplined. That discipline begins internally. It is built through study, reflection, and predefined rules. Without those rules, a breakout becomes dangerous. Excitement clouds judgment, ego expands, risk increases at the worst possible moment. Mastering your mindset means defining your plan before volatility tests you. It means deciding in advance how much you will hold, when you will rebalance, and how you will respond to sharp moves in either direction. It means accepting that you cannot. Discipline also requires perspective. Silver is one asset within a broader financial life. If your identity becomes attached to a single outcome, your decisions lose clarity. Calm investors treat gains and losses as feedback, not validation of their worth. Train yourself to detach from short-term noise and attach to long-term principles. Build daily habits that strengthen patience. Reading, journaling, reviewing your allocation strategy, reinforcing your reasons for owning the asset in the first place. When the breakout finally comes, your success will not be determined by luck. It will be determined by whether you built internal strength before external movement. The market rewards those who prepare in silence and punishes those who react in noise, and the difference between the two is mindset shaped intentionally over time. If this message gave you clarity, don't let it stop here. Like this video so disciplined investors can find it. Subscribe if you are committed to intelligent wealth building, not emotional gambling. Share this with someone who owns silver but needs strategy, not hype. And remember, it's not about owning 100 O's or 1,000 O's. It's about owning your mindset before the breakout ever begins. Allocate strategically. Don't just hold emotionally. There's a powerful difference between owning an asset and positioning it correctly within your life. Many people believe that once they acquire silver, their job is done. They store it, they watch it, they wait. But strategic allocation requires a deeper level of thinking. It asks how this asset fits into your total net worth, your income structure, your liquidity needs, and your long-term objectives. Without that clarity, holding becomes emotional attachment rather than intelligent positioning. If you own 100 to 1,000 O's of silver, that represents meaningful capital. The question is not whether silver has potential. The question is what percentage of your financial world it occupies. Legendary investors like Ray Dalio emphasize balance. He builds strategies around diversification and risk parity, understanding that no single outcome should control your financial destiny. Strategic allocation protects you from being right at the wrong time or wrong at the worst time. Emotional holding sounds like this: I believe in it, so I'm all in. Strategic allocation sounds like this: I believe in it, so I've sized it responsibly. The difference is subtle but life-changing. If silver is too small in your portfolio, it won't meaningfully impact your growth. If it's too large, it can distort your decision-making and expose you to unnecessary stress. Smart investors define ranges. They rebalance when allocations drift too far. They don't marry assets, they manage them. Strategic allocation also requires liquidity awareness. Do you have cash reserves separate from your metals? Do you have income-producing investments that cover expenses? Entrepreneurs like Robert Kiyosaki often speak about assets that generate cash flow versus assets that store value. Both have roles, but confusing one for the other creates imbalance. Silver can be a store value, a hedge, a strategic position. It is not a replacement for income or emergency planning. When you allocate strategically, you reduce emotional swings because your exposure is intentional. You are no longer hoping for a breakout to fix your life. You're integrating silver into a broader system of wealth building that includes skills, businesses, savings, and diversified investments. Allocation transforms ownership into structure, and structure transforms uncertainty into calculated opportunity. Define your exit and rebalance plan before volatility arrives, because clarity, created in calm moments, protects you when emotions intensify. Most investors spend hours thinking about when to buy, yet almost no time deciding when to reduce exposure, take profits, or rebalance. That imbalance creates vulnerability. When price accelerates upward, excitement clouds logic. When it drops sharply, fear overrides conviction. A predefined strategy acts as a stabilizer, keeping you aligned with your long-term objectives instead of short-term impulses. If you hold 100 to 1,000 oz of silver, you are not a casual participant. You're exposed to meaningful swings in value that require structured decision-making. Legendary investors like Peter Lynch often emphasize knowing what you own and why you own it. But beyond that, you must know under what conditions you would adjust that position. Would you trim 10% after a 50% gain? Would you rebalance if silver grows from 15% to 35% of your net worth? These are not emotional questions, they're architectural decisions about your financial structure. Volatility magnifies whatever mindset you bring into it. Without a plan, you may hold too long out of greed or sell too soon out of anxiety. With a plan, you operate from intention. Rebalancing is not a sign of doubt, it is a sign of discipline. It means you are protecting gains and maintaining proportional exposure within your overall strategy. Even the most successful investors diversify and rebalance to avoid concentration risk. Consider how Benjamin Graham approached markets with a margin of safety mindset. He understood that uncertainty is permanent. By planning exits and reallocations ahead of time, you create your own margin of safety. You remove ego from the equation. You no longer need to predict the exact top or bottom. You simply follow rules you designed in a rational state. Defining your exit does not mean abandoning conviction. It means honoring structure over emotion. It means protecting capital so you can participate in future opportunities. When volatility arrives, your plan becomes your anchor, guiding decisions with calm precision rather than reactive intensity. Build parallel income and skill assets alongside hard assets, because true wealth is never dependent on a single source of strength. Silver can store value, it can hedge uncertainty, it can appreciate during powerful cycles, but it does not wake up every morning and generate cash flow for you. It does not learn new technologies, it does not negotiate salaries. That responsibility belongs to you. If you hold 100 to 1,000 Oz of silver, you have taken a step toward asset ownership. The next step is becoming an expanding asset yourself. The most resilient investors in history never relied on one pillar. Andrew Carnegie built steel empires, but he also built systems, partnerships, and knowledge networks. Modern entrepreneurs like Elon Musk operate across multiple industries, not because focus is unimportant, but because layered capability creates durability. When one sector slows, another can accelerate. When one income stream tightens, another can expand. If silver represents stored energy, your skills represent active energy. Skills compound differently than metals. They grow with practice, adaptation, and curiosity. Increasing your financial literacy, improving negotiation ability, learning digital systems, building a side business, strengthening communication. These are assets that can multiply your earning capacity over time. When you combine appreciating hard assets with expanding human capital, you create a powerful financial engine. Parallel wealth creation also stabilizes psychology. If all your hope is tied to one breakout, pressure builds. Every price fluctuation feels personal, but when income flows from multiple channels, business, investments, consulting, creative work, your nervous system relaxes. You're no longer waiting to be saved by one move. You're actively generating progress. Practical steps make this real. Allocate time weekly to skill development. Reinvest a portion of income into education or tools that increase productivity. Explore opportunities that align with your strengths and market demand. Keep silver as a strategic store of value, but build businesses and competencies that create cash flow. This layered approach transforms you from a passive holder into an active architect of wealth, strengthening your financial position from multiple directions simultaneously. Protect liquidity and think in decades, not price spikes. Liquidity is the quiet strength behind every great investor. It is the ability to act without desperation, to hold without pressure, to seize opportunity without selling something valuable at the wrong time. If you own 100 to 1,000 Oz of silver, but lack accessible reserves for emergencies or opportunities, your position is fragile. True confidence comes not from the size of your holdings, but from the flexibility of your structure. Many investors underestimate how powerful liquidity can be during volatility. When markets move sharply, those with cash reserves have optionality. They can rebalance, they can average strategically, they can invest in undervalued opportunities. Those without liquidity are forced into reaction. They sell to cover expenses. They borrow at unfavorable terms. They become spectators instead of participants. Great investors understand this dynamic deeply. Charlie Munger often emphasized patience and readiness, keeping capital available for moments when opportunity meets preparation. Thinking in decades changes everything. Price spikes are emotional events. Decade-long positioning is strategic vision. When you zoom out, short-term fluctuations lose their intensity. You begin to see cycles instead of chaos. You understand that markets expand and contract, that enthusiasm rises and falls, that no single move defines long-term success. Investors who build generational wealth align their decisions with time horizons that outlast temporary noise. Liquidity also protects your psychology. If you know your expenses are covered for months or even years, you are not forced into rushed decisions. You can let your thesis develop. You can allow silver to play its role within a broader plan. Financial pressure distorts judgment. Financial breathing room sharpens it. Practical discipline makes this real. Build an emergency reserve separate from your investment holdings. Avoid over-leveraging assets that may fluctuate. Keep part of your portfolio in instruments that can be accessed quickly if needed. When you combine long-term vision with accessible liquidity, you transform volatility from a threat into a landscape of calculated possibilities, positioning yourself to act with calm strength across entire market cycles.